Okay, is it working now? Yeah, I think so. Thanks for the tip, Chaungi. I didn't see it. Okay, so I'll backtrack a bit and explain what we did. So we created our site request with which has the validation annotations on there, and in our controller we request the body and we say and we validate it. That's what we did so far. So this is our site object, and basically we will create another object that has something to do with site. It's in DTO response package, and then we have site response. So for now it's weird because the site response will have every field the site has, but it's more flexible. We can do some trickery in the converters and stuff for other objects. So we have different representations if we ask a collection or not, and yeah. But for now, everything of this site needs to be returned as well in a JSON, and the site is just that. So in here we need to have a way to convert back and forth from these objects. So we'll create a new class, converter dot we will call it site JSON converter, JSON in capital. Okay, we will add as well another class here. We will have a package called, nope, we'll just add a new class. It's fine. So we will add a new interface, JSON converter, and we will have an entity which is the original object. Then we have a request and we have a response. So we will return an entity, and then we say from JSON, and we will expect a request. We as well will have a response to JSON from an entity, and then as well we have a page of response to JSON as well, and then we have a page entity, and this is entities. Okay, so this is our interface that our converters always will implement. So we will say implement JSON converter, the entity is site, we have a site request and a site response. We implement those methods and we're good to go. So now so we'll start with the from JSON. So site equals new site dot name, set name equals I'll call this request, request dot get name, site dot set base path is request dot get path, and we return the site. Same here, we say site response equals new site response. Of course we return that response. Then we say response dot set id is site dot get id, and we have response dot set name site dot get name, response set base path. Do we want to call it base path? No, we want to call it path. which is a little bit better. And we have site get base path response set created at site.get created at. You get the gist. And we have updated that as well. And our to.json for the page is even easier. We do just site map and we say this to JSON. We could do something here that makes it that we do some other stuff, some logic, but we don't need to, and that's why we as well won't create a test for this, because there is no logic here. So further on, now what we can do is we say site equals, we forgot something, and we say add component, and in here we need to inject it. So site JSON converter, site JSON converter, and we will create a field for it, which is as well final. Then we have site JSON converter from JSON. We pass it the site request, and then we have that. So if our site service get site by name, site get name, and is present, because we'll return optional, we will throw an error. So we will implement that method shortly. So this throw new API exception. Do not have it yet. We will create it in our REST common. We have a package we call exception. Now we say Java class API exception extends runtime exception. Okay. And basically it has only one thing, which is a title. So we have private string title. Then we have a constructor with the string title, and we have string details. We will as well create a getter for this one, so that will create a getter for the title. So we say super details, because our details is our message, and then we say this dot title equals title, and that's our exception. So we as well need another exception we'll need it in the future, so we'll create it already. So we'll create a not found exception, create that class, extends a runtime exception, and basically we will override some constructors. That's it. So in here, what do we need to do in here? We need to say we create a new package util. It's a util, and we say error handler. So our error handler is a controller advice. So this will run in, it's an advice for the controller. So we will say add exception handler. So we want to listen for an exception. Method argument not valid. Yep, dot class. This is an exception that will be thrown when our validation is not occurred. So we say add response status, and that status is a bad request. Add response body, not request, response body, and we say public API error, which we created last stream. Handle validation error method. Okay. So in this one we want the binding result. We call it result x dot get binding result. Then we have a list of strings which will represent the errors. Now we say result get field errors dot stream dot map default message, get default message here, and we collect it as well, and we have our list of errors. After that we say return no API error, and it accepts a status code which is bad http status dot bad request dot value. It accepts title which will be error dot validation, so we know in our app it's for the validation, and it as well wants a list of the errors. Well, basically, yeah, it's an object that it wants, but we can pass it anything. So that's our validation error, but we as well want to throw a not found exception, we want to throw an API exception, and we want to catch all the other exceptions that we throw and return for that an internal server error because we missed something. So for the not found, it's basically the same. So we want to start with this. We will update this to our not found exception, and this will be of course not found. Now we say public API error handle not found, and we say not found exception x, and we will return no API error http status not found dot value error dot 404 x dot message. Oh, sorry. So we have API exception handle API exception, and it is always a 400 for now. Yeah, we changed that one, which we shouldn't have, and then we say x, well, this needs to be an API exception x dot get title x dot get message. That's it. Then the last one we say, okay, when we did not catch when we did not catch it because it goes waterfall, we say exception handler for exception, so we will get everything. We will have a response status of internal server error, and we have a response body public API error handle all other exceptions. We have an exception x. We say return new API error, and we want the code. Then we say error dot internal for the title, and we say x get message. But we want in our logs to print the stack trace of this, because we want to see when we did not catch something we should have, or we made a mistake or something. So this will basically handle all our errors of our API. So in here we can then say return new API exception. It expects the title. So what will it be? So site.name not dash unique. There is already a site with this name. We need to implement this method. It's an optional of site. I will put a space between every one of them. Okay, so we need to implement this one, and it's basically site.find by name. Pass it the name. We create that method optional site find by name, and Spring Data GPA will handle it. Of course, for this one we write tests, so let's write a test for it, and we will basically just be copy pasting this and changing it to the method name and using that, of course. Wow, we have a success, and we have an empty, and we have find by name. Get by site by name, of course. Here again, here we say find by name. We return optional of needs to be site DB. We made a small mistake, and in here we need to say this one. We need to map it. Boom, we map it. So our test should work now. Yeah. So let's check it out. By the way, in the chat, if you have questions, just ask them. I will gladly explain everything what I'm doing, or try to answer your questions. Looks nice. It works all how it should. So we have our test, we have our sites RMDB. You know, our RMDB stuff. So so we have an URL optimizer. So the base path, we say remove trailing slash and beginning slash, so we can accept anything. I think this will work just fine. So after that, it's pretty simple. We say we want our site back, of course. Then we say our site service dot create. We pass in our site. So basically, we get our site back, but with the ID. Then we say return no response entity, API response, create response. We pass it the site, and we pass it HTTP status created. So 201, and that's our create site. That's a good start. We will as well need a list of sites, and we forgot to do something here. We say add request mapping method post. So now we want a list of our sites. So we add request mapping. The value is empty, and we say method is get. What do we expect? We want a public response entity of API response. We have get sites, and in here we have a pageable. We as well have a request param. Add request param. So basically it's a get variable. It's a query variable. So the value is paginated. It is not required. We will not require it. The default value is true. Well, it needs to be a string, of course. Sorry. We will and it's boolean paginated. So basically we want to see if it's paginated. Then we say our pageable is a page request of 0, and then we say integer dot max value. I will as well extend this one. We have an abstract controller. No, okay, we did not create an abstract controller yet, so we will leave it like this. So when it's not paginated, we just want the page with the maximum of integer values. The page will never be this big, but that's a little hack, so we can get everything. After that, it's pretty simple. We just say return new response entity, API response create. Oh, I see. So we've got something. So we return our default site, but we want to return our site response. So we need to say site JSON converter dot to JSON, and we pass it our site as well. The same in the create response there. We say site converter, site JSON converter dot to JSON. It will be a page. Then we say get sites, which has a pageable. Site service dot get sites, which has a pageable. And we'll return an HTTP status of OK, which is a 200. And that's our endpoint. Okay. So next one, we basically want a site by ID. It's to complete our grid a little bit more, so we will say value, and we basically want the ID. But to have the ID, the ID is a UUID. And we maybe want other non-UUID routes on the first one, and because it's a wildcard, it will not use it. So we'll say here it needs to be of this strength, so we know that's a UUID. And then we say method get public response entity. It's an API response get site by. It's okay. Then we say add path variable. So we have our variable string ID. So this ID will map to this one. Then it's return new response entity, API response create response, site service dot get site by ID. We pass it the ID, and we say we pass OK. Real easy. Next up is the update. So we will have again a request mapping with our UUID in there. I know it's long, but it's needed. It will be a put. We won't have a patch, we will always send the full object. We have done a public response entity of our API response, of course, and we say update site, and we have again our path variable by ID. So here comes a tricky one that we need to be able to get it and send a not found, but we also need it for our oh, we forgot something. So our site server gets site by ID. Return is an optional, so we will do or else throw. New, not found, exception, and it just wants a message. Could not find a site with the ID. Now we pass it the ID, of course. We close it. So that's something we need to do, but we need it for our update and our delete as well. So we will private site get site by ID, string ID. We'll put it there, and we put a return statement. Then we can just say here get site by ID, we pass it the ID, and it works. So in our update as well, we can do site equals get site by ID. It will get the ID, and basically what it does is now it will throw the not found exception when it doesn't have it. And for our update, we can reuse it as well, so our code is real small in there. So when we want to update, so we want our old site basically, and that's what we get with our ID. But then we as well have our at request body, and it needs to be valid, of course, again, of our site request site. Well, this needs to be a comma. Site request. So we have our new site new site equals site JSON converter. From JSON we pass the site request. So okay. So basically we want to execute this one again. So we'll copy paste it. But there is something more. Oh, we need to check the new site name, of course. If old site dot get name equals ignore case new site dot get name, it needs to be n, and it is not. So what we say here now is when the name is not equals to the new name, then we go check our site by name, and if it's there present, we throw our API exception. So if we are getting here, we need to say new site dot set ID is the old site dot get ID. We need to do the new site dot set created at with the old site dot get created, because it doesn't get updated, and that's it. Then we can say site equals new site equals site service dot update with a new site, and then basically we can well, we're forgetting our converter an awful lot. So basically it's again this one. We need to update site with new site and create it with OK, and that's it. Then we have our delete. We will again, we will copy paste this method. We will change this to delete, and we will return nothing back. Well, we will return an empty one back, and we say we will delete the site. So there are two ways of going here. One, we throw a 404 exception when we do not have a site, or we just don't delete the site when it's not there. And those ways are both fine, but how I do it is I don't delete the site when it's not there, but the delete always works even if it doesn't find it, because then it's not there. So basically delete is correct, it's deleted. Yeah. So we'll say site service dot get site by ID. We'll pass in the ID. Now we say, because it's an optional, if present, we will do site service delete with a method reference, and it will just pass the site we got from here, and it's deleted. So if we now restart our backend, we will see that we have our endpoints in there. So if you can see, we have here our site with IDs, get with delete, and our site's post as well. So we can use it in our front. So let's do our commit, because we created we added some stuff. Let's first do we'll first do our command. So exception command rest exception JSON converter interface. Okay, we'll say commit. We will do the next commit, which will be our repository. So our repository, what did we do? We added a method get site by name, commit it, in here we added basic CRUD for site and error handler, commit and push. So I will hopefully push everything. Lesnishi Marcin, thank you for following. I hope I said it correctly. If not, correct me please. It's a difficult name. We will give in our password, and it's pushing. So this will as well, this will already be on the GitHub repositories, which you can find a panel on Twitch, a link to there. It's zwaldeck, and then you will have all the ZCMS repositories there. So let's start building our front end. I will boot up our front end. Booting it up. start Chrome already. Bum, 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 bum. My VMware is stuck. Dang it! Okay, here we are. Wow, what's happening? Everything is here. Okay, so we have a login screen and we can do our admin login. Feel secure, and we have basically we boot up on our dashboard. So we will add in our client a component under app content, which will basically be a component called sites render. So the sites is in the content module. We will add our sites endpoint there. So we have a site. So the same as dashboard, we will have path sites with the component sites component. Can activate is without card service. Now we have as well data, which are the breadcrumbs. So breadcrumb config dot get breadcrumb config router type dot sites. So we need to add this router type. So we'll add sites. I will already do some work for in the future. So we'll have sites add as well as sites update. Yeah. So the files I'm working on, it's on the GitHub repository. So if I show you guys, so if you are on the Twitch, you can see here GitHub projects. You can click the zwaldeck project, and so basically these are the repositories that we're using. So the ZMS core, the ZMS author, the ZMS repository, and ZMS utils. So that's where you can find it. It's on GitHub. I will post the link in the chat. Here you go. Okay, so we'll eventually have a sites add and update as well. So our next step here is then add our breadcrumb config. So in here we say case router type sites. We return a new array. New breadcrumb item. I will create a private method for this one as well. Private static item, and now we say label key, which is the string, and this will return a breadcrumb item. Return new breadcrumb item, and we pass it the label key. Okay, so here we then will say just item, which is shorter, and it should, wow. I just want to use it as a function, so I just will create a function for it. because else it's just too long function. And it needs to be outside of the class, of course. So now we have a function called item, because it's way shorter. So we say item, and then we say breadcrumbs dot size. And then we of course did something wrong. We need to have a clickable, which is optional, of course, which is a boolean. And we have as well a URI optional string, which is basically the same as our breadcrumb item, and we will pass them through, and everything should work. So for our sites add, it is clickable, and our URI is sites. After that we create a new item and basically call it sites add. We didn't close it, sorry. And here, and then of course we have our update. It's a bit tedious work, but we have to do this. And instead of sites add, we have update, and our first site is still clickable, so we can navigate with it. So that will solve this. The rest of the sites component, so we will have one other component in our sites. So we'll create this one, add update site. So we will reuse this component for the update as well for the add. So we can copy paste, and we will have site slash add, which will then be the add update site component, and this one is then sites add. We then as well can copy paste this one again. We'll have then update, which will as well have the site ID in the URL, and this one is an update, and it has the same entry component. So that's our routing. So if it's restarted, we already can go to sites work, and if we go to /add, you can as well see add update site works. We did not add our translations yet, but you can see that this one is as well navigatable again, and now it's not. So translations is in assets I18N, breadcrumbs, we have sites, we then have sites.add, add site, we have sites.update, update site. Okay, so now we refresh here, and well, it needs to be breadcrumbs. It doesn't work. Why? Breadcrumbs sites. So we do not translate it or something. Let's see. So it's in our main layout, it's in our breadcrumbs component in the HTML, and indeed we do not translate it. We need to translate it over here, translate, so we can remove this to do, and over here translate. So now it refreshes and it's translated. If you go to /add, you will see that it's translated as well. So that works. So now what do we basically want to show for our sites? So on sites itself, we basically want to show a list that's paginated with all our sites we have. We use core UI, so we will use the tables, no data table, we'll do it ourselves, and basically we will use as well the table inside a card. So let's start developing our component. Well, let's first do a commit so everything is empty again. We can remove those JS files, we don't need it. So we'll commit our 2 components we created and our routes. So yeah, just part of good commit. It's small work, but better too many commits than too few. So back in our sites component, we want a few things. So basically we will have a public collection, which will be our site. I will have paginated and I did not create that model just yet. We will assign null to it, and let's create that model. So in shared models, we have a folder entity, and we have a folder of we have a TypeScript file paginated dot collection. So export class paginated collection. Everything I will just copy paste it because I already did it once. It needs to map. That's all. So we as well have an entity for site. Export class site. It has an ID. I will create a public ID, which is a string. Has a public name, string, a public path, string, public, created at, which is a date, public updated at, which is as well is a date. Okay, so we can import it here, but why do we create objects? We use TypeScript, so we want everything tight. But we will get just JSON back from our response of our API. So what we will need to do is map this stuff to something useful. So we will create a mapping.util, which is an export class mapping util. So this will contain static methods, so public static. Then what we want to do is we want to map the response to a paginated collection. So we can use this one at our view. So we want a page info, any, and we want all the items in this page. So items, and this one is basically an array of any, and it will return a paginated collection. So we will create a const collection, which will be a big neat collection, and we will instantiate it. We as well will return this collection. Then what we will do, we say collection.items equals items, collection.total items equals page info dot total items, total elements, sorry. Collection dot total pages equals page info dot total pages. The collection dot page size equals page info dot size. Collection dot current page equals page info dot page. Collection dot first equals page info dot first. Collection dot last equals page info dot last. So basically now what we need to do is we need to set the pages we want to show in our collection setting. So if our collection dot total pages is bigger than 5, then we want to check if our collection dot current page minus 2 smaller is than 1. Then we want to say collection dot pages dot push. Then we say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So basically we want to show the current page. We want to show 2 pages from the left and 2 pages from the right. So if you have 5, we want to show 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. But so we say the current page, for example, it's 2, so we would show 1 and 0, but 0 is not possible. So if the current page minus 2 is smaller than 1, we want to show the first 5. Else if the collection dot current page plus 2 is bigger than the total pages, what do we want to do? We want to for let I equals collection dot total pages minus 4. Then we want to say I smaller or equal to collection total pages I plus plus. And then we say collection dot pages dot push, and we want to say I. So we only want the last 5 pages. Else we say for let I equals collection dot current page minus 2. I needs to be smaller or equal collection dot current page plus 2, and we say I plus plus, and we'll basically do the same here. But if the total page is not bigger than 5, we as well say else for let I equals 1, I smaller or equal collection dot total pages I plus plus, and we again say pages push. So we have now checked every possibility off in our pignated collection, so that's already something. Then of course we want as well to say we have a public map item to site. Item is just any JavaScript object. We will return a site, const site, site equals new site, return the site. My nose itches. Then here we say site.id equals item.id, site.name equals item.name, site path equals item dot path site dot created at equals item, well, new date item dot created at, and the same for updated at, and that's our mapper for the site. And as well, it needs to be static. Darren, thanks for following. I hope I said your name right, but thanks for following, man. So that's our mapping util. We will use it in our site service, which we will be creating in a few moments, but we needed a pagination collection. So what can our view as well have? Our view can have an error. So this will be a string. We will currently say it's null. And we can have a success message. So these two variables are basically for showing messages. And then we have a private current page, which is a number equal to null, to 1, sorry. Okay, so before we continue, we need to start thinking about our service, because we will need it in here. So we will create a new service, site.service, export class, site service, add injectable from the core, of course, and of course it's a provider, so we need to say site service. So we want our site, so we have a public get sites, but what do we want? We want a page with a number. So what else do we want? We want paginated, because we want a way to fetch all the sites in one go, and we definitely say true as the default value. And what will return? An observable of the paginated collection. Okay. So return this dot gets this dot rest. Oh, we did not inject it. So constructor private rest service. Rest service. Yeah, okay. I will just do one quickly. So yeah, of course we need brackets. So we have rest service dot get. We have an endpoint, which is sites, and that's it. Then we have a page equals page and paginated equals paginated, and then we need our token. So for our token we need private out service authentication service. Then we say this dot service dot get token. So basically this will get our JSON from our service. So then we need to say pipe. I will do it on the same line. Valley Rotten, well, it's a difficult name. Valley Rotten, thanks for following. So we have our pipe, and we need to map We need to map our no, not much media. Map from our JS operators, and basically we have our res. And we will map it. So first what we want to do is const site, and this will be a site array, and we will initialize it to empty. For const let item of res.data, because everything is in data. We say sites.push mapping util.map item to site item. Then we return mapping util.map response to paginated collection. We say res.page info and sites. And what's the error? Const. That's our first part, and then we want to catch the errors. We use catch error, but because this one only can throw a server error, we want to reuse it, we will do something else. We'll here have well, we have basically functions. Export function catch something wrong. This will have error ID, which is string, and we will have a return value, which is type of any, and we will return well, basically what is it? Operator function. We will return an operator function. Let's see, and we have tr. Well, basically just edit. I don't know. No. How do we do it? Well, no, it's I think before it. No, it's just okay. Let's first just say catch error error, and then we will say event emitter dot emitter service dot off, and then we have error ID, and this one emits the return value. Then we return off of course not. This one is the errors. Then of course we will have our return value. Let me check. Okay. So basically I was right. TR and TR. Wow. Oh yeah, of course. We need to return the catch header. Oh, okay. We're there. So now we have a catch something wrong, because it will make our life a bit easier. Then where was our translation? So we have common error something wrong. So that's what we need to set here. Common dot errors dot something wrong. Then in our site service we just can say catch something wrong. We will pass it site error and it will return null. And that's our function to get our site by the page. So in our site component now, what can we say? We say private site service is a site service. Well, we as well want when we refresh that we are still on the same page, so we will use our router and our route to do this. So we'll say private route activated route, and we have a private router. So that's our dependencies. Then here, what do we need to say? Well, first we need to say extends base component, of course. Then we have this dot route dot query params. We have a pipe take until this dot ng unsubscribe. And then we of course will subscribe params. Turns on a new line. Then if params page is set, else this dot set page is 1, this dot set page well, we as well need to check if it's a number, of course. And is none. Then we say params page. So our set page will essentially load in our info. So we have private set page. It will be a void, but it will accept a page which is a number. So this dot loading, because we are loading at that point. Then we say this dot site service dot get sites. We want to pass it our page. Then we say our pipe with take until. Don't have to mop all the rest. Then we say we subscribe to our collection, which is a pignated collection. If the collection is not equals to null, then we say this dot current page equals page. This dot collection equals the collection. And we say this dot loading, well, done loading. We need, what do we need to do as well? We need to set our route to the page we want. So we say this dot router dot Angular router change URL without reload. So let's see, location go, that's not what I'm searching. Let's say Angular 4 up. Let's see. Is it location? I don't want to be location. I don't want it, but it is. Is it? Let me check some older projects. I already did it, but I cannot remember how, so let's check. Okay. So this one as well needs to be numeric. Is numeric. I think from TS-lint. Nope, not from TS-lint. Internal compatibility, which is fine. And then to change it to a number, we need to add a plus sign. Okay. Okay. We're back. So then we say navigate by URL, and our URL is sites, and then we say page equals, and we say page. That will change our URL. I hope. Okay. We can test it out by saying here, let's just say collection JSON. Wow, why is it pages? Okay, everything is empty there. Do we do our call? We do our call, but we do not have any sites, which is fair. We do not have any sites. Okay. So basically, we miss something on our part, on our backend system in our repository. So for making development easier, we should think about creating a new service called a stub service. And when we have a certain Spring profile, we will add some certain already fixtures to the database, so we already have data to work with. I'm doubting if I'm just going to do it now or later on, but it would be handy to have it now. So let's do that now, and end the stream with that. Yeah, it's good because then we will be almost at 2 hours, so it's a good place. So we will close this stuff. I will do back some Java. So in here we will create a new interface called stub service. It's an interface, it's stub, and it has one method called void load stubs. That's it. So of the stub service we will create an implementation. Well, I will create it here. New Java class stub service RMDBS, which is a class. Yes. So our stub service will have an add profile, so it will only be loaded when it's on the profile stubs, and we'll have an add service, of course, to load in the stub service. So what do we want to do? We want to create users, we want to create sites, and as we go on we want to create other entities as well in here, so we have different data to work with. So basically what do we need? We need an add auto wired, we have a public, and we have a constructor. We will need the password encoder. We will need the user service. We will need the site service as well. So we of course implement our stub service, implement. Okay, so we'll have load users, load sites. Those are our entities at the moment. So private void load users, user import it called author equals new user author dot set username is author, author dot set password. Now we have our password encoder dot encode author, and then author dot set roles, arrays dot slist, role author and role DOM manager, and it's a role public as well. So we will copy paste this one to create another user called DOM manager. We remove this role. Well, we removed a bit too much. Okay, and we say DOM mgr. Well, let's just say DOM and DOM. Then we say user service dot create author and the DOM manager. Okay, so this will load in our users. Same for our site, so private load sites, private void load sites. How can we so we want a site called so we want to add a default site always, so that's something we need to do in our setup service. And then we want two stub sites, so let's say we want a site shop. This site dot set, well, shop set name is, for example, shop. Shop dot set base path is then slash shop. Then we want a site block equals new site. And we say block set name block set base path block. Site service dot create shop and block. Okay, so when do we want to run this? When the profile is there. So in our setup service, then we need to inject this one. So what we will do is setup service, sorry, stub service yes. And we say auto wired, but we will require false. So this one is not required for us because it can be null. To clarify, no? So in our setup repository, we create our default admin. We as well wanted we would create a default website as well. So site. We will only create one, so it's new site. Site.set name is default. Site.set base path is slash, and we say site service, which we need to inject dot create site. So that will always inject our site. So site service. Gonna put it like that. Created it, yeah. Wow. Why doesn't it? Okay. Then, if the stub service not equals null, then we say stub service dot load stubs. So now, if we go to our MySQL workbench, how can we make sure that we rerun the script? Well, basically by deleting our schema or a table or something. But we can just say drop table, drop now, and it will rerun because it's not complete. We want this table, but it's not there. Then we will say it's not set up, and we will run everything again. But to make sure that we load in our stubs, we need to edit our config. In here we already have active profiles, our MDBS, and now we will add stubs. So we will apply it, we'll say OK. Then if we restart, we'll see that we'll import those stubs. There it is. So it added 2 sites. It added one user, 2 users, and this site is from this statement. So if we now, if we close this, if we now refresh our database, and we select our sites, we see that we have 3 sites. A base spot with nothing, a base spot with shop, and blog. This one is not correct, so we still have a small bug in our code. And our bug is indeed in the code, in our utils, URL utils. So remove trailing slash. In our remove trailing slash we will say if the URL equals ignore case slash, if it's not equals only a slash, and that one, then we don't do it. Now we need to change our tests, of course. So we need to add a test case, add test, void remove trailing slash, only slash given. Then we need to say, of course, we say assert equals, what we expect is this one, and then what we are given is remove trailing slash this. Let's see if it works. Yeah, okay, we fixed our bug. So now if I remove the table again, so drop table, drop now, we will reboot our API, so it initializes the stubs again. Yep. So we do a refresh. Now we can see that our default path is just a slash for the site, which was a bug. So we will commit it. So not declined, it's not ready. We'll commit this later on. First, so bug fix. When giving only a bug fix. Yep. Okay. Commit. Then we will do another commit, not the outer part. So this one, added a stub service, added stubs. I'll just say added stubs. We'll commit and push. We will select as well the utils, push everything, so it's online for you guys to see. Now it's null, and I don't know why. Because we have data, we have elements on page. Why is it null? Let's quickly fix this one as well. So we have an error in our shared services site service. So let's see, console.log, and we echo out sites. We do not come inside the set page, I think, but it executes the sites. Huh. Okay. So it doesn't enter the map. What? Huh? Oh, we have an error. Site servers map item to site does not exist on mapping util. Huh? It exists? Oh, just restart the client completely and let's see if it's now gone. Sometimes it can be a little bit broken there. Okay, compiled. Yeah, okay. So now we have indeed our. Sometimes when you add new files, it when the ng service is on already too long, you need to. Yeah. So now it's indeed we have our items. We have our one page. We have the current page, the page size, which is the first and the last, and we have our items, so we can display it. I will leave the stream here. I will try to stream as soon as possible, but of course I have my own job as well, so I don't always feel like coding in the evening on this project. So if you like the stream, be sure to follow me to see some more. Yeah, if you have questions, just shoot them in the chat. I will try to answer them during the streams. You can private message me as well. These videos are also going on YouTube, so you can rewatch it to see, if you missed something, you can rewatch it. You can rewatch the older streams as well to see how we get to this result. And yeah, next stream we will be continuing our build of our CMS. See you guys.